what Jesus did. Second column, the rites, represent the action of Jesus. The last column is living out the marks. And that is the most important part. So you ask yourself, in what ways am I offering myself to become great? To be a life giver, to sustain life. In what ways am I called to live a fuller life? In what ways do I give meaning to life? Now these are questions that you should pose yourself and ask yourself, how am I responding? Lamb of God, are you prepared to make the surrender? Just like Jesus himself offered himself as a Lamb of God, committing himself, right, for the salvation of humanity. And communion, intimacy with God, solidarity with others. So during the Mass, when we receive communion, hopefully from time to time we experience intimacy with the Lord. This calls for you to be reflective, to be contemplative, to be prepared to remain in the silence. Just as sometimes we have got too much of singing in the church. It'd be good from time to time, right, that after communion we have a period of silence. So the question is, do you feel comfortable in the silence? It is only in the silence that we tend to experience the intimacy with God, that God is near. Otherwise, try out this experience, this experiment. Perhaps in the middle of the morning, when the church is practically deserted, go to church where there's nobody in the church. Sit in front of the Blessed in that stillness. You want to experience intimacy with the Lord? This is one easy way out. Where there's nobody in the church. Now, do you have an adoration room in the parish? Okay, that's still. In the adoration room, I think it's a better environment. Alright? Not when there's somebody in. Harder for us to experience. But when I think it's important for us as Catholics to experience this intimacy, this one aloneness with the Lord. It's a beautiful experience that we all can experience if you make the effort. Alright? You try out. Just be alone by yourself in a prayer room or in the church or in your garden alone. Just be still. Just remain still. And you can have a beautiful experience of the presence of the Lord. And this is something that you will treasure. And this will encourage you, to deepen actually your spiritual life. It's not just vocal prayer all the time. We've got enough of vocal prayer. What we need today is that contemplation, that aloneness, that intimacy with the Lord. So I would encourage you all to try to cultivate this intimacy through contemplation, through that stillness. Then you experience a deeper communion with God. I'm sure many of you experience from time to time after receiving communion. Don't you feel a certain stirring within you? That tears may even flow. Treasure such moments. Such moments are moments where you experience the intimacy of the Lord. You can't explain that. You cannot demand. You just come like that. But it's a beautiful experience. On 3 occasions when I celebrate Mass, perhaps for me it was a bit embarrassing when I consecrated the wine. As I lifted up the chalice, tears just flew. I could not control the flow of tears. I could not explain. It's just touched by God. You feel the presence of the Lord. As I held up the chalice, Jesus is here. what a privilege it is for me as your pastor to hold that intimacy. Right? All of us can experience this if we take the time to be still. And the Mass is one way to experience this. I bring to you the anamnesis, the recalling the mysteries of Christ, and the reliving the paschal mystery of Christ, which we read now. As I mentioned just now, we don't attend Mass. We participate in the Mass. We celebrate the Mass. The word celebrate. Do not think that it's only the priest who celebrates it. All of you are celebrating. What does it mean? When you think of the word celebrate, celebration, what comes to your mind? To celebrate implies we are one with others, right? You cannot celebrate by yourself. So, it is one with others in sharing that joy. So, in different parts of the Mass, we participate in the rites and rituals. Active participation of presiding celebrant, ministers, and congregation. Everyone in the Eucharistic assembly has the right and duty to take part according to the diversity of orders and functions. We are assigned to different orders, different functions during the Mass. Lectors, you have got your duty as a lector. Choir members, you have your duty. So distinctive role. Whether minister or layperson, everyone should do that, and only that which belongs to him. So that in the liturgy, the church may be seen as composed of various orders and ministries. All for the greater glory of God, for the sanctification of humanity. The invisible God, out of the abundance of His love, speaks to us as friends and lives among us, so that He may invite and take us into fellowship with Himself. Ultimately, it is union with God. When we celebrate, right? God invites us to enter into union with Him. The Mass is a celebration of the people of the covenant, of who they are, celebration of your identity as God's chosen people. So you are God's chosen people through God's invitation. A people now responding to God's invitation. That's why we come for Mass. God invites us as His people to come and worship. So the celebration of the Mass is God the Father inviting in Christ who is now present. Come to me, all you who labor and are overburdened, and I will give you rest. The people respond with Christ, who is now present. So in other words, there is this two movement, from God to us and from us to God. God the Father invites the people of God. We respond through Christ. The key person in a salvation is Christ. Without Christ, there is no Mass. So, we celebrate Mass by our response with Christ. Each individual person's salvation is a response with the people of God and Christ. So, vertical with Christ to the Father, horizontally with the people of God. In the church, we come to church to celebrate the Mass of the altar. After the celebration, when we leave the church, we go out to live out what we have celebrated, to celebrate the Mass of life. So there are two types of Masses. When they're in the church, they're celebrating the Mass of the altar. Once you leave the church, you go forth to live the Mass of life. Here to celebrate, there to live. Now, how do we do this? We come to church assembled as God's people for worship. That is your identity. God calls you to come to worship as His people. So this is what we do at the Mass. But after the celebration, we go forth to live our life as redeemed people of God. Now this is the difficult part. An atheist philosopher once challenged Christians. He says, you Christians are always bragging that you are a redeemed people and that Jesus is your Redeemer. But from the way you live your life, I don't see you're redeemed. So how can you claim that Jesus is your Redeemer? I think it's a very valid challenge. If we say that we are saved, do we live a life, right, to show people that we are saved? Or we are worse than others? We commit also a hideous sin. How can we say that we are saved? Like priests who commit all those scandals. Hurting the church, hurting themselves, hurting our faith. There's some many people are so scandalized that they walk out of church.